It's very interesting to me with a show called Grey's Anatomy how very little the character of Grey is actually in the episode, but she still had an impact and she was in the episode, and we will discuss Meredith's plotline. But this episode really focused on Alex and Jackson, even though Jackson wasn't in the episode, which I thought was interesting. So, Jackson's Crisis of Fate storyline is continuing from the first two episodes, which I really liked. I really liked the fact that Jackson is having this Crisis of Faith because I had said in my review of episode 1 and 2 that Jesse Williams really gave off the struggle. Like, I connected to it. And Jackson is a known atheist, and to have this struggle of, looking for meaning is really well done. And I like the fact that he took time off, and I also like the fact that he was kind of afraid to tell Maggie. And this was noted in the episode where Maggie is told he couldn't tell me, he had to go without me knowing, and I very much enjoyed that. Now, I had said many times that Kelly McCreary is really funny. I think that the writers know how to use her humorous side quite well. But in this episode, it really showed her sad side, or her ability to give off anxiety, sadness, etc. And I really liked it. Like, her being purely nervous about Jackson throughout most of this episode was really well done. But because they do know that she is humorous, they're able to put some humor in the beginning of the episode with Maggie talking to Link, and I really did enjoy that as well. But just with Maggie being in the OR with Owen, I felt for her. I felt it. I think Kelly McCreary is an extremely talented actress because she can really go from being funny to being serious and sad. So I really did enjoy that. And quite frankly, that was honestly my favorite storyline. And there was only like 3 storylines in this episode, and they're hinting at other ones, but the my favorite honestly is just Kelly McCreary and Jesse Williams' storyline at the moment, which is interesting because I don't really like the couple, but at the same time, the actors are so charismatic, I can't help but support it. So the other big storyline in this episode was Alex dealing with being the new interim chief, and this umbrella storyline, I should say, allowed for several other storylines to go under it. For example, we have Miranda Bailey and Joe Wilson, or Joe Kriv now. She decided to take on Alex's last name. We have Bailey following Alex, trying to figure out, like, is Alex doing the job right? And then we have Joe Wilson following Bailey, being like, come on, I'm your fellow, like, help me out. So I enjoyed that. But I felt bad for Joe in the sense that, she initiated this really interesting fellowship. She wanted to do it with Meredith, and Bailey's like, well, I'm going to take it from you. And then, take it from Meredith, and then work with Joe, and then she doesn't even get to do anything, Joe, I mean. So I felt bad for Joe in that regard. And I really hope that there's more to come with it, because it really seems that the research, no matter how made up it might be, is really important to this character. So I really hope that Joe is able to shine. And Bailey did recognize that she was being unsupportive and detached from Joe, which was really good. And I really like the fact that Joe came to Meredith, and Joe and Meredith have a really interesting relationship, especially within the earlier seasons. Like, Meredith was relatively dismissive of her. So it was really interesting to me that, Meredith was gave Joe advice. So I really did like that. So Bailey, allowed for a good chunk of the humor with Alex. But then, again, Alex is dealing with being interim chief. He's overwhelmed. He's signing off on budgets. Like, at the end of the episode, he gave away the entire quarter budget for the month. And you can't do that. So I really did enjoy those little bits of humor right there. Alex is just a really interesting, probably one of the most developed characters I've ever seen on television, going from a bully to, to where he is now. I mean, he's really, really well done. And he's always been known to be a man with a heart of gold. And I think Justin Chambers, is just so charismatic as well. Now, this episode had 2 real big medical crises, and actually both of them are connected to Alex in separate ways. So the first one is, there was the teacher, woodshop teacher, and he essentially made one of his students accidentally go into a saw and caused a lot of drama. And the shop teacher had this disease, and we're going to talk about the disease in a second. But it appeared to make him an alcoholic, or make him very drunk. I think it converted sugar into alcohol, which is wild. I guess I'll talk about it now. It's so goofy, the disease they made up, that even the characters themselves are talking about how stupid the disease is. And I love the fact that the show, you know, they know it's a lot made up. They know that it's a little out there, but the fact that it's meta in the universe of Grey's Anatomy, that they can comment on this, made me laugh out loud quite a bit. So then, so as I said, there's two storylines, and the actual man, he's sick. Weber is an alcoholic, as we know, and his reaction to this potential addict, was really out of character, in my opinion. I didn't feel that he should have been this judgmental. It didn't make sense for the character of Weber. He's normally so empathetic, so caring, and to be so aggressive towards this person. Yes, this man did hurt these children, but it wasn't his fault. And even so, alcoholism's a disease, so it was very odd for me to see him be so attackful. That's not a word, but you know what I mean. Like, just to be so negative and so aggressive. I didn't like that. But the jealousy that he had towards Alex being the new chief, I thought was completely in character, and I really did enjoy that. And then at the end of the episode with him bonding with Luca very quickly, I enjoyed that. But I did not like how he was so judgmental, angry, and aggressive with this potential addict. It just, I mean, him and Amelia in earlier seasons bonded over being an addict. So for him to be like, you're an addict, you're a bad guy, I was like, this is wrong. So I'm actually quite curious why the writers would choose to put him in that light. So the other subplot with Alex is there's Vic Roy, who's an intern, and he's essentially under Alex for this episode, and he's trying to deal with Alex's issues of being in the new chief. And a guy gets admitted to the ER, and he has a blood nose, and the blood nose is disastrous and ends up allowing this man to die. There was a hemorrhage and whatnot, and poor Vic Roy, Alex fires him at the end of the episode. And Roy dealing with Alex in the beginning was quite funny, but then I felt very bad that he lost his job, his reaction to the patient being dying. He wasn't killed. But those are the real two things. So Alex had to, put on the tough jacket and fire Roy for obvious reasons because he was ineffective. But at the same time, poor Roy had to go through all of the crap of being the chief's assistant. And George did that way back in the earlier seasons of the show. But to me, I didn't think that Roy needed to be fired per se, but I understand why. And I am curious if the character will be back later. Now, so that was the massive amounts of storylines that happened. And then we're also going to talk about Meredith in a second, but I have one more comment to make about Vic Roy and the patient that died. Greg Germann was so good in those scenes that it was like a breath of relief for me, which is interesting because I did not like him in Once Upon a Time. I've talked about that a couple times, but he was just so much fun to watch, so charismatic. This is, I think, the role for him. I wouldn't be shocked if he gets promoted to main cast very soon. So I really enjoyed Greg Germann throughout this entire episode. Him being with Amelia, like, I'm your lover. I was like, it's gross, but it's funny. And then him dealing with Roy's patient was also great as well. So I really did enjoy that. So now we have two more storylines to talk about. It's interesting. This episode, I really felt, didn't have a massive impact on the characters, but I think it's still very interesting nonetheless, and it still is fun to discuss. So they're trying to do a love, like an odd love square between Amelia, Link, Owen, and Teddy. I don't think that Amelia will go to Link. It doesn't make sense. I really think Link is going to stay single. But the love triangle is definitely there with Owen, Amelia, and Teddy. And without Teddy in the episode, I felt that the concept of the love triangle, which was supposed to be like this big deal, is very lackluster. It's unfortunate. It really went to the back burner. And Link, I like the fact that they're kind of keeping him as being a punching bag. Weber was mean to him, Amelia was mean to him, Meredith was mean to him in the last episode. So I like that. But, he came off so cocky being this ortho god. And I'm like, you're no Kelly Torres. How are you an ortho god? And you've proven nothing. I mean, maybe you're good at your job, but I don't know. There's nothing about Chris Carmack's character that seems to be godly. So anyway, the love triangle square plot they're introducing, which is what I want to see the most, is upsetting not to see because you're missing Kim Raver, and I love Kim Raver. I think she's fantastic. And now the last thing we're going to discuss is Meredith. Now, Meredith, as I said in the beginning of the episode, was barely in it, or the beginning of the review. She was barely in the episode, which was interesting. And she had some nice moments with Cece, and that was well, nice, but it was very light. Even at the end of the episode with her kids and the scene prior when she's talking to Cece, like it was like supposed to like be like this big deal. But honestly, it was. I needed more. You need more Meredith if you want this idea of the season of love for her, particularly, to be fleshed out. And she was just in only a few scenes. However, she did have a fantastic scene with Alex and just does show the friendship. So I really did enjoy that. And then there was also the hint of Meredith and DeLuca at the end of the episode. And we saw that was the opening scene of this season with the dream of Meredith making out with DeLuca or having sex with him, which was great. And I would be totally okay if like they do something. I mean, it's there. I mean, DeLuca's a fun character. He's dated Maggie. Maggie was saying go date Amelia. Like DeLuca's fun. I don't need to be the romance of the century, but I can see it. And I really like the fact that they hinted at a possible romance there. But I just feel that Meredith herself was needed more to do in this episode. Now, final thing, and it's not about the episode at all. ABC have promoted this episode with having Alex Landy, who plays Dr. Nico Kim, be in this episode, and quite frankly, he was in it. No denying that. But it was super tokenism. And again, I don't ever really speak on the level of tokenism, but ABC is like, they on their Instagram, they were promoting it. This episode, the trailer seemed to, not the trailer so much, but all the promotion from Entertainment Weekly, from ABC itself, was like, Nico Kim is a big deal. This the first gay character we have that's a guy. Obviously, the Cali was like the big LGBT representation along with Arizona. But to me, it was just like, why would you market it and then not have him there? And I don't know where they're going with Chris Carmack, and I don't know where they're going with Alex Landy's character. Like, Link seems like a punching bag, and Nico Kim seems to be pure tokenism, which is upsetting. And I also never understood why Glasses is now gay. Maybe he's bi. I don't know. But I was upset that they were like, oh, we have this gay character. He's quiet. So that's my thoughts on the episode. Final words of conclusion. This show has 11 main characters and then 8+ guest stars and co-stars. So obviously not every plot line is going to get fleshed out each episode, like the Owen, Amelia, and Teddy thing. I understand why I took a backstory, but that seems one you don't want to take a backstory and have it be front and center. The Jackson storyline is a great storyline. Meredith finding love, a great storyline. But, I guess, do you sacrifice the triangle for Weber being weird? And quite frankly, yes, I would totally sacrifice. Sacrifice the Weber storyline for the love triangle storyline. So I know the show has a lot to do, and there's a lot of episodes. It's always renewed for at least 22+ episodes each season. So it's a lot to write. And I'm looking forward to the next episode nonetheless, because I really did enjoy this episode and I enjoyed talking about it. But I was just a little upset with the things we didn't get to see. And I'm looking forward to seeing more Meredith and DeLuca, or Meredith herself, just trying to figure out what she wants. I'm looking forward to seeing more of Alex and Maggie, or Jackson and Maggie, excuse me. And I'm looking forward to seeing more of Alex being the interim chief. So anyway, share your thoughts about this episode in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching my review it. I appreciate it. And we'll talk real soon. All right, guys. Bye.